Lynch.
Here.
Thibodeau.
Here.
Fox. Smith. Pepperidge.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, I'll lead us in the invocation, and Mr. Dominic will lead us in the pledge. Lord, we ask you to touch the hearts of those who have been hurting so bad, especially those parents and family members of the children and the adults that were killed in Connecticut. We ask that we know that the only way that hole will ever get filled is through your love and your understanding. We ask that you fill that hole, although we know it'll take a long time. And Lord, we ask you that you help us to make the right decisions for the citizens of Caddo. We ask all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. All face the flag and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and fill it to the president or the clerk of the commission. Comments by any citizen will be limited to 3 minutes. Do you have any cards? I have no cards, sir. All right, I have none. Okay, new business. Read the new business.
Just one item, resolution number 71 of 2012, regarding providing water to the Wells Island Road community for a period not to exceed 6 months.
So moved. Moved by Mr. Williams. Second by Mr. Johnson. I believe we have a presentation by Mr. Evans.
Oh, I just had a comment toward the vote on the resolution. Does this have to lay over for any particular time, or can it be effective immediately due to the nature of the issue that we have?
It's effective immediately.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, Mr.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lee, we have a presentation, sir, outlining the nature and the extent of the problem in the Wells Island Road. And Mr. Waters will come forward this time and give us a presentation, and also the options that we could pursue.
All right.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Thank y'all for being here today, and we're pretty much going to get started with just kind of the facts as we know it. And you can kind of start with the handout that you have. As of December 5th, the analog water system, as we all heard through the news, it was shut off by the city of Shreveport. I'm going to not go into the details over that. I don't think it's very necessary, but what is important is that a lot of parish residents and businesses were shut off of water at that time. At that time, there was somewhere in the neighborhood of about eight businesses and 8 residents that were not on other types of water were shut off. The analytical login did quit paying their bill in March of 2012. They were able to maintain all the way up to December 12th with just accruing a large bill. The city did turn off the water, and also in due turn they did call the Department of Health and Hospitals. Health and hospitals also have a policy that they give you 2 weeks without having running water in your business or your house, and it's an unsafe condition, which that would put eviction notices going out on December 24th. Currently, there are 4 businesses and 5 residences that are without water. All the others that they were able to gain other type of water, especially through a well. Either they were able to use well water that they already had, the wells have already been drilled, and they were able to connect to those and rerun it, or they were able to utilize a neighbor's well and tap into that and use that as well. So currently, from what I can tell, we have 5 businesses and 5 residences and 4 businesses. With this in mind, I knew we were going to need to work on some agreements. The Parish of Caddo can't go and do this on their own, and we definitely needed help. The first thing that was suggested by Commissioner Williams was to contact Homeland Security. Mr. Lucky did do that. We were able to secure a 500-gallon tank from the Department of Homeland Security. We had in turn worked with the city to gain a meter so that we can get water every day. And currently we're delivering water to that area every day, dumping it every morning, and refilling it up at 9 o'clock, testing it, and bringing it out there for use. We've started doing that. Thursday is our first day. And we're going to do that until either the water gets turned back on or until a decision is made to no longer do that by either Mr. Wilson or by the commission. city has come to play a little bit, and they're going to allow the parish to take back over that meter as long as we meet several obligations. One of them being a backflow preventer is installed after the meter toward the residents to make sure that whatever happens on our side of the system is limited to our side of the system, so no forcing water back into their system would happen, as well as meet all the DHH requirements. Also, with that in mind, they'll give us the water, that existing water line out there for a meter for a time the DHH will allow us, as long as we have a plan. But, they're not going to do this for long term. They know this is something that they don't want out there. This is something they don't want in their system. So they told us, we'll allow you to do that, but you have to have a plan. And the plan is to install a water line as per their specifications, as per their approval. And they have agreed that they would review a process or review a plan for a new water line quickly, which would mean about 2 days. So they would take a design that we have to install water lines out there, inspect, do the research on it, they review the design and get it back to us in 2 days. That's pretty fast. The city, yes, ma'am. And now, of course, without being considered, now we have DHH to look at. So I visited with DHH a little bit. They're also in agreement of allowing us to take over that meter and the water lines as long as we install the backflow preventer, and as long as we have a plan in place for no longer, and it takes no longer than 6 months. If we can come out there and show that, yes, we're going to have a long-term plan, they'll allow us to take over that meter, install a backflow preventer, and they're also going to waive, now this is a big to-do, they're actually going to allow us to waive with the water system rights, which normally requires insurance, requires us to have monitoring of the water. They're going to have a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to billing. So the first thing that I visited with them was, well, okay, what if we didn't bill these folks? Can we be waived? And they said, well, yeah, if you don't bill it and you're providing it, we don't really care how you do that. But at the same time, I don't think that's the right just. I said, well, if we do bill it, what do we need to do? They said, well, there's a long list of requirements. She did call Baton Rouge, Jennifer Kilkin with the local DHH did call Baton Rouge, and she did allow us a 6-month period where we waive the rights of being a water utility district, and we can run it as we see fit as long as we have a plan in place, which is a long-term plan. And they also said that they would review any kind of designs of the water system, because when we design it for the city specifications, we have to send it over there, and they would actually do a 1-day turnaround, which is pretty fast. I did go ahead and reach out to a design engineer, the one who did Goldsberry for us. He did present us a cost of $10,000, and when I spoke of this engineer to the city of Shreveport and the DHH, they were both in agreement that he does understand how the city specifications work, and that helps make it go even faster their design process. So this kind of opens up a bunch of options for us. One of the options is to do nothing, to allow DHH to go ahead and issue the eviction notices December 24th to those 5 residences, and what I project is 2 businesses. I visited with 2 businesses, one of them being Troplex, and the other one I can't remember the name of it. They have plans in place to get water if they have to. They would rather be on some sort of a system. Troplex actually had a drilling rig in their yard on Friday to start drilling water if they need to. But I did speak to a gentleman today, and they were wanting to find out what's going to happen here today to figure out if that's what they need to do or not. So as of the 24th, right now I'm looking at 5 businesses and 2 businesses and 5 residents that haven't already figured out how to obtain some sort of water. Now let me back up a little bit too. The water that a lot of those folks have been able to gain, from what I can tell through initial, and I haven't gotten deep with this, it looks like it's the Red River alluvial water, which isn't very high quality water. It's kind of brackish, tendencies to roads, pipes, and do some other things that probably the businesses out there aren't willing to do. They use a large amounts of water, and last thing they want to do is pump thousands of gallons of brackish water through lines and have them corrode, have them corrode and have problems. So. But in a short-term situation, they're willing to do that. I don't know long-term if they'd be willing to do it or not. I wouldn't think they would. So we have back to option number 1. Obviously, is to do nothing, allow the eviction notices to take place, and then the property owners could also, at that time, also go to our standing procedure now of gaining 61% of the road frontage property owners. Right now, we have a policy in the parish of, it's a 90-10 process, where 90%, like we did in Goldsberry and Oak Haven Phase Number 2, if you all remember, is have a petition of 61% or more applied to the parish, we'll actually design it, we'll actually construct it, and then they pay 90% of it taxed, and it's based on linear footage of the property along the road frontage, and, it would be a lien on the property or some sort of a payment plan. So that option, as far as I understand, is always out there. So the first plan to do is to do nothing, allow the eviction notices to go out to those businesses, and then have the property owners to apply for the petition for paying up to 10% of the water line to be done. Option number 2 would be to have the parish assume the water line and the meter, go ahead and install the backflow preventer, and I'm estimating about $1,000. The reason why I do that, the backflow preventer doesn't cost that much, but what has happened is a lot of those businesses have already tapped into their rails, and they've already severed the line that once fed from the city through analytical, are probably now cut loose. And so when we turn that water on, we're going to need to run around and probably do some minor capping and some minor distribution to try to get the water where it needs to go. So I expect about $1,000 of plumbing cost to turn the water back on. And that, once we got the water turned back on, then we'll have 2 options to either A, build a residence, or 2, to provide the water for free through the period of what you have to decide. So that's kind of a 2A option there. Then the residents, for option 2, then the residents will have time to get together. They'll have water, and what they'll need to do now is come up with a petition of 61% of the property owners, so that to agree that they would pay 90% of the construction cost. Right now, I've got the construction estimated at $265,000, $10,000 of it for $10,000 plus $10,000 for engineering, for $275,000 construction cost. That really equates down to about $22.10 per linear foot of property frontage. So if I own a piece of property after I've got 100 feet, on my 100, it's going to be 100 feet times 22.10. That's their 90% of the bill. So they'll be paying $2,210 for their portion of the bill to make this work. That allows the property owners to spend $247,500, and the parish will be responsible for about $27,500 outside of the $1,000 for the tapping and actually turning the water on there. The biggest caveat with this is that we really need that petition to be here the first meeting of February for the commission, for us to be able to get the design, have the design completed, reviewed, and then I'm probably going to have to come back to get an emergency bidding from the commission, so that I don't have to put it on the street for 30 days. Right now, it's taking Goldsberry and Oak Haven, it's taking about 7 weeks after the project is finished to get the water clean enough to actually use. And all of that, so what I'm doing is I'm looking 6 months out, and then I'm trying to back into where I need construction, 7 weeks of cleaning of the water, construction, at bidding, design, boom, put through the first week of February. So if we go with option 2, I really need the citizens to have their petition to us by February, so that we can get that before y'all will have a resolution as well as an ordinance to pass. So that takes 6 weeks in itself.
Okay, Ken?
Yes, sir.
As far as when they need to turn everything in, I'm sure that their commissioner and the city council member, Rose McCall, she's in the audience today, I'm sure they would be glad to help, and certainly we will help in any way we can in getting that done and received to us in the proper time, if that's what the residents decide they want to do. But currently, we've got a motion on the floor to do the 6-month deal, and we've got several people that want to ask questions, so let me go ahead and go to that.
All right, thank you.
So you don't have to say some things twice. Mr. Escobar?
Okay, maybe I misunderstood you. You said DAH is giving us 6 months. Okay, 6 months to have the problem resolved.
Correct.
Not, okay, it's got to be done.
That's correct, to be resolved.
Okay.
After which, at 6 months, that valve will be turned off.
Okay. Well,
the resolution before, let me just say where I'm at. All of this stuff that you're talking about is important, the options and all, but it's really irrelevant today. The people need water, they need to get turned on. We pass this today, how quick can you get the water? How quick can you get that problem resolved?
Today, I'm hoping by Friday to have the water turned back on.
Okay, so if we get this done today, you can have it back on by Friday. Okay, so I think that's what we need to do here today. We're committed to do that. We supply the water, we worked it out with the city, let's get the water turned back on, and get these people some relief. Leave it up to the commissioner, as you said, the city council, and you to get with the residents, go through all the options, and then we'll proceed from there, because there's really very little action beyond that that we'd be able to take today, so.
Well, DHH will not turn it back on unless we have the plan, the long-term plan in place. If I called up tomorrow and said, we just want the water turned back on for 6 months, I don't know if she's gonna do that. Her first question is, are we gonna lay a line? Are we gonna do, what is our
You said
long-term
you could have it
plan?
turned on by Friday, now you're telling me no?
As long as we have a long-term plan in place, as long as we're moving forward. If I go there and say, look, we really don't know what we're gonna do yet, they're probably gonna be
You
hesitant to
tell
turn
them
it
we're
back
working on
on.
it. I mean, you really expect to have this resolved by Friday? A long-term plan, you said you need the engineering studies and all that? I mean, do you have to give her hard details, or can you just blow a little smoke?
I can try that, sure, there's no problem.
Pardon me?
I definitely try.
Well, it seems ridiculous, their demand seems ridiculous. They want to grant us some temporary emergency relief, and then they want to give us, then they want us to come up with an unrealistic commitment. Well, let's tell them what we need to tell them.
I can tell them that we're definitely, we're 6 months, we'll have a plan in place, and then we'll work on there, but I do know that
After
they...
things change, plans change.
No, sir, no doubt.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay.
Jennifer, you can remove Mr. Dominic and Ms. Baker. I've got Mr. Williams next.
I just want to say to this body, to the president, especially to this administration, for their tenacity to take on this project, and they did not waver. They took the bulls by the horn and had courageous leadership. And oftentimes we have to make a gut check sometime to avoid the catastrophic situations and the bureaucracy and the red tape. Oftentimes it takes government to come to the relief of people when they need help immediately. I just want to commend you so much for what you've done. You went out there, you talked to everybody in the community, you talked to the businesses, you and the chairman, you and Mr. Woodrow, and taking this leadership role in this process. I just want to commend you, and I feel like I'm going to write everyone a letter of appreciation for what you guys have done to bring the relief to those residents. I've been checking on them every day, checking to make sure they had that 500-gallon tank out there to have water, and to improvise at a short period of time. And also thank Commissioner Bowman and Commissioner Epperson for spreading some insight on how to deal with a problem like this. Hope we, like Commissioner, they said, the main thing here today, option one is turn the water back on. And oftentimes we can eradicate that problem down the road with a long-term plan. But I just want to say today, Merry Christmas. Water will be turned on, hopefully, if the wishes of this body vote unanimously to turn this water on by Friday. Hopefully we all can get together, come up with a long-range plan. Here again, thank each and every one of you. Thank you in the audience for being so obedient, for maintaining your level of coolness, because I know this is a tough time for you. You've been had good decorum in the meeting today. So I just want to say thank you to the business and the resident area as well. Thank you.
Ms. Bowman?
Yes, sir. I totally agree with Commissioner Escudet's assessment that we needed to do whatever we need to do, pretty quick. But another thing that basically concerns me, I'm really 100% for getting water turned on right now. But it seems the company that caused the problem, is it Analytical Loggers?
Yes, ma'am. Just been analytical logging.
I know that probably the city needs to definitely sue them or whatever, take legal action. But it seems to me, since they inconvenienced these people the way that they did, it ought to be something they could legally do to make them compensate them or whatever they're gonna be out of because they tricked them,
Amen.
in my opinion.
That's right.
I don't know, y'all might know some good attorneys that can help you, but, I mean, we're doing our part, but, they really tricked y'all. Just keeping up with what was going on. You've been paying them.
Right there.
And they hadn't been paying the city. Now look at what you're going through, these past few weeks. So, I just make that suggestion to you. You know, stand up, go after them.
Man up.
Anyway, thank you.
Mr. Dominic?
So I'm assuming what we're talking about today, if we pass this, we'll be able to get the water back on Friday, that we'll come back in January, our first meeting in January, to hopefully look at this a little bit further, determine how to proceed on a long-range basis. Is that what?
Well, I mean, it goes back to, you have two options. One is to have the petition from the residents, the 61% petition, or the option 3, which is the parish to pay for the thing in full. So those are your two options. And, you know, again, January, I'll be honest with you, Commissioner, that we'll have water turned on back on Friday, and we'll have feet on the ground trying to get petition working before January. I mean, we need as much time as we can.
Option 2 looks like the more viable one, but I'm like Commissioner Escaday. I mean, the main thing, and Commissioner Williams, is we got to get this water turned on, but they
No doubt.
turned off on December 24th, the day before Christmas.
That's cool.
No doubt.
Appreciate
That's the eviction notice.
Well, I know, but I mean.
Plans to shut the power plant will be shut off on the 24th, is what they're saying.
I'm not leaving my home. They're not gonna come in.
Mr. Johnson?
Ken,
Yes, sir.
one question. Basically, to turn the water on, we can get the water turned on by Friday.
I think so.
All right, so what's the major difference between getting the water turned on by Friday and what they've been doing in the
Nothing.
past and a long-term plan of $200 and some thousand dollars?
Right.
When the lines already exist? I don't quite
The
understand.
lines exist, but they're not up to code. They're not up to the Department of Health's code. It's really in some mechanism for the,
Okay, hold on. You say it's not up to code, but you're basically dealing with some PVC piping,
I don't know,
typically, or some copper piping. or
it
something like
could be
that.
electrical conduits.
Okay.
And what has happened, Commissioner, is that Analytical is acting as a water system. When they sell water back and take money back, they're breaking the law by acting as a water system and not following. They didn't have insurance. The water the lines aren't built with proper, flow, backflow preventers, with proper, flow, I can't remember what they're called now, but they're little sensors that keep the water flowing into them so that bacteria can grow in as well as the chlorine levels. So it's not built to standard. The DOH knows it's out there and they can't allow it to continue to be out there without it being right.
Okay, but
And now if we said we went out there and constructed a system and wanted to become a water system,
But if you do find something that is the code, you're not gonna destroy that to
That's
put that
correct.
new
But
pipe.
I've been out there, I haven't found the first thing that's even close.
Ms. Lett?
The first question is, what department of the city is dealing with this?
I believe it was water. Barbara Featherston is yes ma'am, Barbara Featherston is the director of water now that Brian Crawford is gone.
Who is that? Who are you dealing with?
Barbara Featherston. Barbara Featherston, she's assistant engineer, Barbara, yes ma'am.
Engineer.
Featherston. She's the assistant city engineer. I think she now is taking over for Brian Crawford as the water director.
Okay, thank you. While I'm impressed with what you're saying, the city can do a one-day turnaround, two-day turnaround and all of that, but they gave these people no notice.
You're exactly right.
And all of these requirements that they're saying we gotta do, and they'll do this if we do that. I wish that they had given the residents of the community some notice, some planning, so from what I'm understanding from the media, nobody knows anything. They're still claiming, okay.
You're exactly
So I want to say that, and also, giving us an opportunity, so I appreciate Commissioner Williams and you are working to handle this problem in the expeditious manner that you have. But, from my standpoint, I don't think the city is off the hook at this point either, as well as Commissioner Bowman said, the business that was involved. Thank you.
Just a couple of curiosity questions. About how long has this been going on?
From my understanding, about 18 years.
So in 18 years, the city has failed to realize that there was water going on past analytical logging. They had no idea that for 18 years, and I guess the Department of DVH or whoever else has never checked that either, have they?
I believe it's, the Department of Health Hospitals hasn't, the city have not really talked. And why, when I say that is, I'm sure that the city there's several subdivisions and apartment complexes where this happens. But the city would have to assume that they follow all the DHH requirements. So without the city picking up the phone and saying, hey, Department of Health Hospitals, is Analytical Labs, are they doing it correctly the way? I know the city's been out there, they have records from 2009 where they've been out and realized that it was.
And the other question, you said that when the tanks were being filled, we had to meter that water, so in other words, we have to pay the city to put water in the tanks?
That's correct.
The city can't even give us 500 gallons of water?
I won't even go into the process that it took.
Unbelievable.
I don't believe it is.
I've got Mr. Wilson now.
Yes, sir. Kim, would you explain to the commissioners, once we do this temporary repair, we will be paying the monthly water bill from there for 6 months?
That's correct.
We have the reimbursement in mind, right?
We visited with Donna Frazier last Friday, and we're looking at $1,000 up front to put the water so that we can turn it back on. That water meter has been running about $2,000 a month, and granted, a lot of those folks have already come off the water lines. So I don't know who else we did put back on there. So we've come up with Donna's actually kind of worked up a thing where she's suggesting something like a flat rate for the residents and a flat rate for the businesses. Some way to try to just pay whatever it is. If it's a little under that, so be it. And go that route. So I think that's the route that we're looking to take.
Okay, Ms. Baker?
Well, I got a curious question too now. So the DHH let this go on for 18 years. They only giving us 6 months to give them a long-range plan.
Right.
It's basically they were not aware that the condition existed for 18 years. That's why they had no knowledge of it. Not an excuse, but they said they didn't have any knowledge of it.
The DHH works on certain policies, they're a much bigger government agency, and they, just like I tried to lobby the 14-day eviction notice with them. I thought that was unreasonable, and that is per their policy, is, it just happens to fall on the 24th, and, that's the edict that they have to live by, and, when they're notified of something like that, they have to go and follow, and she said DHH didn't know about this condition out there before the city of Shreveport had, because they have gone out there to make repairs on private lines when they realized it's private lines that left, so they've known it's there, it's just DHH hasn't really been called in until now.
I agree with Commissioner yesterday, just give them a plan. Just get this water back on.
We have a plan.
Mr. Escudero?
The city became aware of it and when?
From what I understand, the Analytical Labs quit paying the bill in March. For some reason, in their new computer system that tracks their water system, they've been able to run up a $26,000 bill. And then all of a sudden, they came across someone's desk to say, why? And they have a no shut-off. Someone clicked the notes for no shut-off no matter what the cost. So some manager in the city realized there's $26,000 being owed. What's the story? They went out to do some research, found out what was happening. They shut the valve off, not knowing that all these residents were back behind in businesses. And then when they came forward, then it was like, wait a minute now, what's going on? And when the city heard about that, instead of calling us, they just called Department of Health Hospitals.
Okay, but the city then, like the Department of Health and Hospitals, had no real long-term prior knowledge that you had an existing provider out there acting as an illegal water distributor, correct?
Correct.
So, if anything, we can just say they were both, I don't know, they're just not doing their job, not on the ball. DDH, that's what they're supposed to do, is prevent these kind of things and look out for health and and welfare, so after 18 years, I mean, they're probably just sitting in their office doing nothing. So in light of the fact that they've missed it for 18 years, been kind of lax in their duties for 18 years, then I think they should work with us as far as coming up with a plan to solve this. What's 6 months compared to 18 years? Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
That's one question. So basically saying in 18 years that they had no piping issues out of the residents or the businesses. And if you did, somebody had to go out there and repair it. The city went out there and repaired it, then they had some prior knowledge too. Now, out of 18 years, nobody has tested the water to see if the water met the standard that it should be. So now all of a sudden, it's a big deal, 6 months to get up to code and do everything else.
And also, there's a boil ban in effect too, right, Kim?
That's correct. Even if we do have the water turned back on by Friday, we will have a boil ban in order for the 6 months period, so that they, before anybody consumes water, they'll have to boil it, but it will be there for washing clothes, taking baths, cooking, anything like that, but there will be a boil order issued.
Okay, we're all amazed by what's going on, so, but let's go ahead and cast our vote, and perhaps we can give them some help right now. Vote? Yes, we're voting. Mr. Smith? All right, got everybody?
What's this?
11-0. Excuse me, we voted on the resolution.
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Epson, I have,
Yes, sir. Mr. President, if I might direct to staff, Mr. Wilson, could you gather all legal, public informational that's possible relative to what is analytical logging, who they are, when they were organized, what the nature of their business is, assets, liabilities, because I would like to see them in some way liable down the road and helping us reimburse some of these expenses we may occur.
Can I give you an update from what I do know?
I would want to prolong the meeting, just do that to me in a written report, okay? And if anyone's else, that's all I have, Mr. President.
Move for adjournment.
thanks, meeting, John.
Merry Christmas.
Right.